Krang was the
Elon,
best.
Elon Musk is 100% built like Krang.
They got a new Turtles movie coming out. I can't wait.
Can't wait to see it.
Rocksteady and Bebop still like caricatures, or did they update that?
Yeah, they're on there. It's like little black voices too. There's a black April O'Neil in the Ninja Turtles.
Oh man, I can't wait for the news cycle of people being angry. April O'Neil is not black.
Yeah, apparently she was black in the original comic book, maybe?
No, she wasn't. Well, I don't know, comic book, the cartoon, it was a
cartoon,
woman
yeah.
with red hair.
With a yellow jumpsuit.
Yeah, so I get why you thought she was black, because the jumpsuit was... What's the first question?
All right, guys. So Domonique,
whoa. We're not going to talk about Domonique threatening Usher with his eyes at the concert? We're not going to do that?
There's nothing to talk about. We don't need to make a big deal out of it. It just, Ush came near my section, and I was like, yeah, dance, do your thing. But this over here, player, this is all me. We don't need none of your sexy gyrations near the mother of my children. Scram, Ush.
Was it a pre-concert conversation? Where you were like, hey, Usher comes over,
I'll be honest with you, it's funny to act like big tough guy, but I honestly don't care. Like, me and my wife were married for 13 years. If she would enjoy Usher giving her a little sexy lap dance, by all means. I am not threatened or insecure at this point. Maybe early newlyweds, I'd be like all territorial. But if she was going to cheat on me, she would have did it a long time ago, and she ain't waiting for this mouse fella to do it. Anyway.
Yeah. Shout out to Keke Palmer's baby daddy. Fumble. All-time fumble.
Oh, just stupid. All right.
I had a buddy who valeted Usher's car in Atlanta. He gave him $100 to just sit in the front seat, in the driver's seat, and not move it from directly in front of the hotel for an hour.
Nice.
Valet no other cars. He loved Usher ever since. All right, let's talk about Wemby.
Man, I like Ush. Great show. Go see it if you got time and money.
Okay, so you were in Vegas. You saw Wemby.
I did.
David, I'm sure you watched it on TV because you weren't cool and having a fun time in Vegas like Domonique. How would you grade Wemby's Summer League performance?
So yes, I was cool. I somehow tricked my wife into thinking that this was a birthday trip to see Usher. Nah, I had to go to Wemby's debut. So I was in the Thomas and Mack Center and saw Wemby put up with... I was shocked, honestly. Like, the way people reacted. I understand that his game, the numbers weren't pretty, but when I was watching the game, I was like, oh my God, everything that we imagined is here. And it wasn't perfect. He missed a lot of shots, but there's nothing better. It's the eye test. That's what it comes down to. Is some people probably looked at the stats afterwards, and those are also people who wanted to be like, haha, all you guys was wrong, overhyped, and then had the numbers to back that up. But when you were watching it, you're like, this dude, if we can figure out how to use him, and there are multiple ways to use him, he is going to be impactful immediately. Now, he's not going to be MVP on day one, but I do think that the Spurs, if they put 4 guys around him who are capable defenders, they might have the best defense in the league, because he does seem to have defensive instincts. And forget instincts. The man, no matter where he is on the floor, he is one big step away from protecting the rim or the three-point line. He might average 3-4 blocks a game all season.
Yeah, like we can talk about how rough he looked the first game, which, okay, he looked bad in his very first Summer League game of all time. Like, that happens. And like you said, he missed a bunch of jumpers. There were some jitters there. They were falling short. He was a little gassed. I mean, he looked tired at different points in that game. I don't know if that's just coming off of, the games that he was playing. I don't know if it was just him, the nerves. I don't know if, the Britney Spears fans were tweeting him and making him feel a certain kind of way. But even at the worst game that you will probably ever see Wemby have, he had 5 blocks. Like, at the worst game that he will ever have, you're looking at Rudy Gobert, right?
like an all-star.
His floor is Rudy Gobert. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? And even he looked better, obviously, offensively than that. Second game, there was no stopping him. There was nothing you could do about him. There's going to be at one point in every single game where he does something and you say, "Are you serious?" Yeah. And he caught a putback like on his feet away from the basket and just like dunked it, like you put a piece of paper in the trash can. And like he should have just done like the and one and just thrown the ball in the crowd and just gone to San Antonio and just said, I'm done, because that's all I need to see.
The size is, so you can't teach size. Obviously, also you can't really teach coordination, though we practice it and you can get a little bit better. Like that level of comfort that he has within his body is something that I would say is rare for someone his size, but I feel like that's not giving it enough credit. And because his size is not, we think about him as a center because that's the position he's going to play, or maybe a forward in some lineups, but he's going to play a 5. The fact of the matter is most teams in the league don't have a guy that's as big as him on their roster. And the matchup problems that he's going to create, just because he's big, even if he doesn't have impactful numbers, his presence is going to force opponents to put somebody out there who's 7 feet tall or 7'1", which a lot of teams don't have someone who is 7'1" and coordinated enough to defend him. And forget that, if you got somebody who's 7'1", they are almost always a liability on the other end of the floor. So just him being there is already putting teams in problems. So then if you put him in a pick and roll, and if you get a good guard next to him that can make these decisions, or you get him in some sort of switch, honestly, you don't even have to get him in a switch. He can shoot over most centers. Just shoot over him because he's 6'3.5". But if you get him in a switch on one of these guys that we think are great defenders, they're normally like 6'7", 6'9". He's looking down at all of them. So as long as he can catch the ball in deep enough, or kind of tighten up his shot from distance, he's really like almost unguardable. And then there's the size and physicality that he's not quite ready for that yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just thinking about, my beloved Warriors. Who on that? Like, what are you gonna do?
Looney.
Like you're gonna put Looney on him to go guard him out in the paint. You're gonna put Draymond in the post.
That's
like, what is the answer? What is the answer to that? Like, he is so, like you said, he's so fluid. He can do things from the paint all the way to the 3-point line that you have to have a special type of defender who can guard him at all levels. Maybe like Bam or somebody like that. But Bam is what, 6 inches shorter than him.
He was too short for Jokic.
Right.
Like, I guess Jokic also had the girth on him, but like Bam's not a center size. Bam's 6'9", 6'10". Giannis also 6'11". Like Giannis is these guys the difference in Wemby's height is like the difference in most positions in basketball. So like he is bigger than most centers. So I don't imagine that he's going to be as comfortable as he was handling the ball. I don't see them like running the offense through him like you would do a Kevin Durant or somebody like that. But he's still like the problem with Draymond or players like Draymond is, as physical as you are, if he can get his body close to the basket, entry passes aren't that hard, throw it up. Yeah. Right. And then he turns around, and what are you going to do? Without jumping, you can't contest it. So without him jumping, you still can't contest it. So I feel like we've been drooling all over him all off season and getting ready for this, and somehow it wasn't going to live up to the hype. But still, I think the potential, we haven't seen anything that shows us that the potential is anything less than like an all-star. Like the potential is still there for something higher. But that's the thing, is I'm not going to lose all this hype until I have a reason not to have all this hype. And everything I've seen so far, the way that he talks, the way that he carries himself, everything about him seems like, and falling in San Antonio, he is going to be, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be everything we expected and more. Sorry, I'm rambling. This got me excited. I was in there. There was a playoff atmosphere. I loved it all. It was great.
Well, the thing about him that also, even as small as he is, and you know that he's going to gain weight, he's still moving people around. Like he still knows what to do with his body enough to start move people around in the paint. And you compare him to some of these, big guys who came in the league and they first started, like the Durants and all those other players. They had to learn that. They had to learn how to sort of use their body to move folks around. He's already got that at his size. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get bigger. And when you talk about the mentality, I loved how he came out of the first game. He came out of the first game and said, look, I looked a little lost out there. I was kind of, didn't know what I was doing. And then you come back and you put 27 and 12 and 3 blocks in the next game. And you look like the most unstoppable player on the court at that point. Like that's sort of that maturity that you get, that you should not have at that age yet. Like there are a lot of players who could have come back, had that first game, and then sort of stumbled again the second game. And you got to kind of rebuild them back. It took him one game and he was like, I got it now.
I stumbled.
But as you were rambling, as you're rambling, as you said,
Yeah, I
and
was
gushing
rambling.
over this guy, I didn't think you were rambling. I thought those points were astute.
Appreciate it.
But as you were gushing over this guy, I
Yeah,
gotta
you
know,
have definitions in your arms too.
was he more entertaining than Usher? Who's the most entertaining person you saw in Vegas?
So,
Wemby or Usher?
I will say that Usher had a lot more help. So there were dancers at the Usher concert
Okay,
that enhanced the atmosphere. So yeah, I would say Usher was more entertaining. Wemby wasn't on the floor the whole time, but
okay.
he walk out there and he looked funny. Not Usher, not Wemby. He just looks so big that it looks weird. It's uncomfortable to see someone on an NBA court with guys who have on NBA jerseys, let's say.
Right. Yeah.
making them all look small is wild. On my podcast, Charlie and I were talking about this, and I just we keep saying he's 19. He's 19. And to put it in context, the prime for most basketball players, we think, is around sometime after 26, 27, 28, 29. That's around your prime. He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
And coordinated as hell. And now we'll have, I guess he's already been professional, but he will have a lot of time to dedicate. He'll have the best coaching staff, or one of the best coaching staffs in sports. He already has his whole team around him, trainers and all that stuff. And he seems to have his head screwed on to a point where he knows what's important. I'm really excited about the future of the NBA behind Wemby. Well, the future of Wemby. Let's not say the NBA, because he may not take over the whole league, but he certainly feels like he's going to at some point.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine this not being his league, especially as you mentioned, in 9 years when he's at his prime.
Whew.
All of these guys are gone.
Yeah.
LeBron is gone. Giannis is, going to be, I don't know, early 30s or something. All of these guys who are dominating the league now are going to be gone.
Right.
And the people are going to be following behind Wemby, and teams are going to be building their squads around how do you defend this guy. And ain't no more of him coming out in the league.
Did Wemby just create a lifetime job for Bol and Taco Fall? They just lifetime role. They was about to be out of the league, and now Wemby's here. And they like, man, we gotta have Bol because he's the only person big enough and coordinated enough to run with Wemby.
No, I think the Bowls of the world, Wemby is going to highlight just how not Wemby-ish these tall guys are. It's going to be like, that's
a great quote. Show that Kenny Smith quote. So Kenny Smith, I'm not a noted basketball expert, so maybe me gushing over Wemby does not sell you people, but Kenny Smith is. And he said that man going to win the MVP by his 4th season. He'll be in the MVP of this whole league. That is ambitious, but it doesn't sound stupid. He could. The one thing that I think, again, Charlie mentioned this on the podcast, is how important it is for a player like that to have a guard to assist him. And you think of all the great centers in NBA history, there's normally a really good guard with them to help set them up. That's the next question. That's the next problem for the Spurs. And I'm sure these guards are made better by the big man, but we know what it comes down to at the end of NBA games. It comes down to having a closer, and centers just not the case. We see Embiid try to do it, but it's just normally not a center closing in those moments. Maybe it will be for Wemby, but it's going to be really important for them. As it is for everybody, to get good players around them, but specifically a good decision-making and passing guard.
Jokic just did a good job of it, and I don't know who. Jokic just did it.
That's fair.
Giannis did it a couple years ago. We're sort of seeing another sort of shift here to where these big guys are doing it. And if you do, I do agree that the guard is integral here. I don't know who the Spurs drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, but it's probably that guy because it's the Spurs. They're going to pop up and
some
be
international player that we haven't heard of who actually is
that
just
guy.
Nice.
Yeah, that guy's already on their roster, and we did not know.
Because they were scouting the big Spurs secret, aside from getting ridiculously lucky in the lottery a couple times. The big Spurs secret, or their market inefficiency that they exploited, was being first to the international players. That they can't exploit that anymore. I don't know what's next. Are they going to other planets? What they're doing?
They gonna figure something out. I mean, my goodness, it's the Spurs. I mean, we talk about their health. I mean, the things that they did with Duncan and sort of reshaped his body to make his career longer, things like that. I mean, they're set up to have this guy not have like there's a Zion world and there's a LeBron world. And it's hard to imagine him being anywhere near the Zion world and really, really close to LeBron.
Are we overhyping the Spurs staff? I mean, because Kawhi left and they did him wrong. But I don't know. Maybe I don't want to throw any cold water on this conversation. What's up, Alabaster? What you got?
Well, actually, worth noting on this, Anscape actually published an article today about Wemby's agent and the plan they have for him and his body. And they said they want to follow the Kareem path. And putting on weight is not in the cards for Wemby. They want him to play until he's 41, like Kareem. And they think adding weight is going to be detrimental to that.
Yeah, I mean, adding weight could be detrimental to that. Adding strength, though, is probably important. So, I mean, I'm sure they know what they're talking about. They've figured this all out. Just get out of this man's way. Don't overthink it. Give him the ball. Let him patrol the court and get out of his way. At some point, in every show that I do, I try to pivot to my labor talks.
Okay,
and
go for it.
Wemby. The NBA needs to create some separate category of money for face of the league type of guys. Yeah. Because let me tell you what the summer league was just last year. So like he shows up to summer league, revenue out the roof, promotions, everything through the roof. He grows into this player that is a marquee player that keeps the league relevant and interesting going forward. I mean, even in his rookie contract, he is going to be grossly underpaid for the impact that he has on not winning and losing, because winning and losing doesn't necessarily tie to league revenue, but the impact on the interest and the sponsorships and all this, like that is going. And I know Wemby seems to, I just want to hoop, as he said, in a very American way. That's fair, but I mean, they've been stealing from LeBron for years. That man been carrying this league, but oh well, I digress.
I mean, shoot, Steph Curry increased the Warriors' worth by billions of dollars, and you're going to put a cap on that guy?
They stuck in Oakland if Steph don't shoot them shots. Now they cross the river to the deep pockets.
They'd be begging E40 to come to their games right now if without Steph. And I agree. I mean, there's just no cap on this guy. I mean, I know I made reference to it earlier, but I mean, the Britney Spears thing, the guy's now elevated to another level of household name because of this thing, and like he is already at this part where people are talking about him just because of the height, just because of the nature of who he is. They're talking about him in a way that we have not seen since LeBron. I would actually say some of this pop culture stuff is kind of putting him a little bit ahead of where maybe even LeBron was when he first got into the league, just because of the circumstances of what happened in Vegas.
What was Britney's plan? She just wanted to shake his hand? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's my ego or insecurity, but like, I don't go up to people. I just don't. Like, I saw people, I recognize people when I was in Vegas. They recognized me, head nod, you move it on. Like, I don't. And you're Britney Spears, you want a picture with Wemby? Get your face chopped.
I mean, maybe. So here's my skepticism, which I don't want to, call somebody. I don't know if we actually have to get into this, but like, here's the thing that's been bugging me the whole time is that she was like, I'm a big Wemby fan, right? And I get it, but also I'm not as tall as Wemby, but I'm a tall black man. And I know what happens a lot of times when you're out in public, people just come up to you because they think you play a sport, right? Yeah. And then part of me is like, is she a Wemby fan, or did she just see a really, really tall black dude and say, hey, I want to congratulate you for being in the league?
Nah. Brittany watches Mets 92 all the time. She's a big Mets 92 fan. She be streaming them in the mansion while she do dances. I mean, I hope she's okay, but also keep your hands to yourself, people. Like, just, I don't know. Yell. Don't touch people.
Yeah.
Alabaster.
Tough. All I have is hands, so I get it. All right, guys, let's move on to the other soap opera in the NBA, and that's the Blazers. Joe Cronin said that this could drag on months. And could you actually see the Blazers waiting months before they trade Damian Lillard?
I mean, I was a little disappointed with Joe Cronin's remarks because they seemed strategic and well thought out. And I hate that. I love when we get on here and fire up GMs and team owners and people that y'all all assume are smarter than you and point out how they actually are not that smart or thoughtful. But he seemed to be doing a credible job of trying to maintain whatever leverage he has. So I would have said before I read his remarks, nah, this is BS. But I do think that there's a chance that they could keep him, in part because Damian's personality. So obviously they want to turn the page to Scoot Henderson. What you can't do is have a malcontent in your locker room who's going to create problems for your team and your development. Damian Lillard doesn't seem like he's going to be that guy. And I think that right now, part of the problem with moving Damian Lillard is the teams that have the assets that would satisfy the Blazers are not interested in getting Damian Lillard, and he's also not interested in going to a lot of those places. So the one team that seems aggressive about it is not giving them as much as they want or the things that they want. So the argument for waiting is the season will shake out a little differently. And possibly there'll be teams that find themselves in a better position, or they're teams who have a point guard now that could get hurt or something could happen, and they could find themselves in a better position, and then they could get what it is that they want because people will be desperate at the trade deadline. But also, the Heat could have a rough start to the season, and then you don't got no suitors. Nobody wants it, and you could be stuck. So it's a risky move, and Joe Cronin's career is probably riding on two things. How good is Scoot Henderson and how much he can get out of this trade?
I don't think there's any way Dame could start this season with Portland. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, for the reasons you mentioned, like Dame's personality is not one like it would be James if James Harden is. You ask James Harden to come back, then it could be really sort of destructive to the team. Dame is going to play, but also, I mean, there's so much overlap with him and Scoot and the way that they play. There's so much, drama around it. You want to get these guys just off to the right start, these young players off to the right start, and just see the team that you have, build the assets. You're not going to get, I mean, there's all this talk about what Miami is offering. Miami's not offering a bad deal. I mean, there's the Tyler Hero of it all that a lot of people have different feelings on, but you can turn Tyler Hero into assets. You can turn Duncan Robinson into assets. You can get your picks. You can try to put Brooklyn somewhere in this trade. You can do things to get what you want, and it's already sort of on the table. This is not like they're getting crumbs for Dame Lillard, who, as great as Dame Lillard is, still 32, 33-year-old guy who's got, 4 more years of contract. Last year, $65 million on this contract, and the guy has not, he's not going to be necessarily maybe the best player on your championship team. Like that's, and you got teams with lots of point guards. There are point guards all over the place in the league. So they're getting a good deal. And I think he's trying to squeeze as much out of it as he possibly can right now. Just send the guy over. This guy's going to be in Miami by the time the season starts.
I don't know that the deal is good, but Alabaster, what you got?
I was about to say, can you explain to me why this is a good deal? Adding
I
Tyler Hero to Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp, and Scoot Henderson, who all need the ball and need to develop.
I would also point out that the argument you're making for bringing in Tyler Hero is that you can move him. But if you can't move Damian Lillard for the value that you think you deserve, what makes you think that you're going to be able to move Tyler Hero for that same value? Because then you're in the same position with a worse player. You're in a position with a duplicative player that you need to move and everyone knows you need to move who has less value. But
I mean, I think that's where the third team comes in. I mean, I think if the issue is I don't want Tyler Hero on my roster, then the third team comes in and you just load up on picks. I mean, I think that's the solution that Portland is looking at. And I think Tyler Hero obviously is the monkey wrench in this whole entire thing, but you are a competent front office. You can find a suitor for him and get picks in return.
So just noting, it sent a shiver up my spine thinking about spending $70 million a year on Tyler Hero and Jeremy Grant. I'm sure it made Domonique very happy for all of his well-paid players. But
get that money.
I think the thing that's really interesting about this is they, of course, want to do right by Dame, but this is a unique opportunity. Scoot fell to them in the draft. Shaden Sharp looks like his potential, honestly, is limitless for someone who's a mystery man before the draft. Simons developed faster than they thought. Yep. If they nail this trade, they can be a really interesting core immediately. Shouldn't that be the priority over Dame's happiness if you are the Blazers organization?
Yeah, but who's actually in the market for Dame Lillard? Boston, Philadelphia, Miami. Like, those are the teams that are in the market for Dame Lillard. And you're probably not getting Jaylen Brown out of Boston. You're getting pieces and you're getting picks. I mean, what you're getting regardless is a mishmash of picks and players that you probably don't want from any of these three teams, right? I mean, maybe if you can squeeze Maxey out of Philadelphia, then, but that's still another guard. Like, there's not like a big market for Dame Lillard circumstantially. It's not that, like, there's just, these are the three teams and you're just going to get a bunch of picks.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point, Alabaster. You're kind of pushing back against the things that Cronin said about wanting to make sure that Dame is happy. And a lot of us, me and other people argue, or at least want the players to have this influence and power when they can and go to the places that they want to go. But yeah, I certainly agree that Joe Cronin's responsibility is, frankly, to Joe Cronin. And it's what serves him best is to do what's best during his timeline, to do as good a job as possible. And so as someone who's been traded, I know what it's like, and they do not care what you want. They care, well, I don't know. I think the Dame Lillard trade conversation is different than the trade conversation I had, but it's just the kind of the way of the business. But when you are as talented, that's the thing about the NBA. When you are as talented, as valuable as these players, they have more leverage. And so he can force them to behave in such a way. I'm not sure what the stick is that he has or that all these players seem to have, but whatever it is, it seems to work. So I could understand why Joe Cronin would not do what's in the best interest of Dame. But I also, if I'm Dame, I'm furious because I look around this league at all these damn players who have done so much less or been so much less committed to an organization, getting sent to 2 and 3 teams that they choose all the time. And I've been here. Y'all ain't never put a winner around me. And I've been waiting. I've been re-signing these contracts, coming back. I've been doing all the things you ask. And then when I finally get my one chance to go somewhere else, this one y'all gonna change the rules? Why y'all do that to James Harden? Why don't y'all do that to all these other players who force their way into other situations? So, I mean, both sides make sense to me.
I mean, Dame signed the Supermax for 4 years. Like, the Supermax. I mean, he's got 4 years, 3 or 4 years left 4 years left on the contract for the Supermax. That's what it is. And the thing is, like, if you were the owner, and I would agree. I mean, actually, I do agree, but it's not like Utah is offering you 4 first rounders and 2 pick swaps and all that stuff for Dame Lillard. There's not like the Rudy Gobert offer out there from just some random team that you can just ship them off to. It's just, it's limited. It's limited. And this is what you're going to get. Miami, as we just saw, as Alabaster pointed out, that said that David was right, that Miami has all of these draft picks to give this guy, these that are going to be very lucrative for Miami going forward. I mean, very lucrative for Portland going forward. That's where he's going. We're just wasting our time. He's going to Miami.
What's up, Alabaster?
I would like to point out the Blazers were not incompetent building around Dame. They just happened to go against David's beloved peak Warriors teams when Dame was at his peak as well, which was just impossible. I mean, they didn't win a conference finals game against Kevin Durant and the Warriors. But no, they built real teams.
No, well, okay, let's rewind. First of all, they lost. They didn't win a game against Kevin Durant unless Golden State Warriors. Alfonso McKinney was starting on that team, and they blew 4 double digits leads and got swept. Like, that was their best shot at making the finals, and they just weren't as good as the Warriors. Dame Lillard is not as good as Steph Curry. Spoiler alert. But the problem with Portland, the original sin of this whole thing is that they blew this team up and had no plan for what to do after they got rid of CJ McCollum. They had a 1-2 punch for this squad. They moved CJ McCollum in some sort of half rebuild, half build around Dame, but there was no plan. Who are you building around this guy? What was the next star that was coming? They tinkered with the Ben Simmons thing. It didn't happen. They really had no plan. They should have probably started a rebuild back when they got swept by the Pelicans in the first round a few years ago, but they never, ever were able to establish a plan once they got rid of CJ McCollum. And since then, they have not built anything substantial around Dame Lillard.
So, yeah, I mean, my only pushback to what you're saying, Alabaster, is we got to be consistent in the way that we evaluate the front offices compared to the way that we evaluate the players. Like, we're not going to look back and say, Dame, that's okay. Dame played championship level basketball, so let's go ahead and give him a championship and consider him a championship level player. So why would we say that, why we give credit to Portland for building a winner around him when they didn't win. So like I don't know how else to knock it, like or how else to paint it. And it's not a situation while Dame is a liability on defense. It's not a situation like he came up small in these situations. They didn't win. They were unable to build a winner around Damian Lillard, and he was committed to them, and he did everything. So that's my point. So I get it. I understand what it means to run an organization and to try to do what's in the best interest of the team, which is actually just trying to save your job, which is what they should do, what all of us should do. But I also would be really pissed, as I'm sure we all would be, if you feel like you've sacrificed and committed to a place and then they just like, beat it. No compensation.
That's the choice he made, though, when he signed that last Supermax. He was like, I'll take the $500 million in total from the Blazers, and I'll be locked in until I'm 37, and it's going to sap some of my leverage. I actually think you talked about Jaylen Brown earlier, David.
Oh, you're just going to switch subject on me? I don't get it.
Well, just going to say, like, these are...
I don't get a rebut.
Okay, rebut away.
Okay, I'll keep it quick. That ain't the world that we've been living in. That's the frustrating point. Is like everyone has been signing these deals. And it seems like quite a few of them still get to go where they want. So my point is, I'm not saying that Dame is right or wrong. I'm saying that it'd be really weird to watch 3 people jaywalk in front of you, and then all of a sudden you try to jaywalk and whoop, whoop, them boys come and get you. You're like, what? What did I do wrong? They did it too. And that's how I feel like the point is, yeah, you broke the law, but we kind of all knew that this is how the game worked until it was my turn.
He waited 5 years too long to jaywalk. He had this drip. So the last thing I was gonna say is this: that you mentioned Jaylen Brown's name. Still hasn't signed his Supermax extension with Boston. That's on the table. A Karl Anthony Towns trade is on the table. They're just like, I think of course, it's very likely he will end up in Miami. All I'm saying is that there are deals out there, and Dame is one of those guys like Kevin Durant who loves basketball, and like, do you really think he's not going to show up to play with Tatum? Do we really think he's not going to show up to play with Anthony Edwards? Like, there are other situations where they could get returns that work with the Blazers roster.
You think Portland wants Karl Anthony Towns for basically the same amount of money that they're paying Dame Lillard? Like, these are not real trades, man. These are not real things. They
Karl
want
Anthony
picks.
Towns plays a different position. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure that the Timberwolves would feel great about pairing Dame with Anthony Edwards, but whatever. It seems like there's really only one real suitor out there. We can pretend like all these other ones are real, but it doesn't feel like we haven't heard these offers. Like the only offer that we've heard that feels legitimate is the Miami one. The rest of them is just like us spectators making up potential offers, isn't it? Has there been a report that I missed, Alabaster, that there's some offer coming from the Celtics or the Wolves?
I read into slightly the Celtics thing from the fact that Dame's agent was so specific about that he was not going to want to play there.
Okay.
Well, I think it's possible that I don't know how Boston feels about the Jaylen Brown versus Dame Lillard thing. I mean, you got age that factors into it, got all that stuff. You got his contract. I think Boston is trying to finagle keep a Jaylen Brown and Dame if possible. I mean, there's that, which I don't think that works for Portland at all.
Really interesting stuff because he is someone who is such a great shooter that it could actually swing an NBA title if he ends up in the right team. All right, let's move on to a game of NBA Summer League and offseason overreactions or underreactions. First one. Brandon Miller's struggles in Summer League are cause for concern. Overreaction or underreaction?
I mean, any response, I think, like anything that's definitive out of the Summer League feels kind of like an overreaction. But I did watch Brandon Miller play. He had some highlights that were pretty fun, like crossing Wemby down to his knees or to his butt. But I'd be really concerned mostly because y'all passed on Scoot. It's more about the comparison than anything else. So he'll get better. And one thing about Summer League that we don't take into account is there are players who play better with good players around them, or most players are, and he does not have that. And he will get that with LaMelo, and we'll see. The scary part is his shooting wasn't as dead-eye as we thought it would be, because that's kind of the big Brandon Miller selling point, I think, is that he can shoot, whereas most guys coming into the league at this age, that's the thing that you read any scouting report about a player coming in NBA. It's like, got to work on his shot.
Yeah,
but he can't shoot.
I mean, the guy had, I think, literally the worst shooting performance in NCAA tournament history. Going into the draft. I think so. Here's what concerns me about Brandon Miller. As much as anything, his performance. I mean, the lack of shots in the second game was really concerning after that first game, comparative to Wemby, who had a bad first game and came back in the second.
Yeah, summer league is impossible to get a perfect read on anyone except for Wemby because I love him.
Well, if there's any team you can go to and be bad for a really long time and nobody noticed, it's Charlotte. So he got that going for him.
Yeah, just was hoping he'd be able to dribble by anyone in summer league. All right, next take. This one comes from my guy Bill Simmons. He said that Scoot Henderson is already a star and compared him to Chris Paul and Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook. Overreaction or underreaction?
But first, Pearl Jam. Anyway.
Well, you're comparing him to MVP and a future Hall of Famer, possibly the best point guard ever. So that feels aggressive, but he did seem like the summer league competition was nothing to him. It did seem like he felt like the best player on the floor, if not the best player in the summer league for the short period of time that a half of one game. We're like, oh, nobody out here can deal with him. He was the kid in gym that just, what team's going to win because he's on it. And so it's hard to say it's an overreaction based on what we've seen of him so far. He was hitting threes, which was a knock on him coming in. If he can do that consistently, I think he has a chance of being up there with those names.
He looked like he was at a different speed than everybody else. He was playing like a different sport than everybody else on the floor. I'm not sure like where the Chris Paul Derrick Rose comparison, because I don't see any similarities between Chris Paul or Derrick Rose. I wonder if it's like, I don't know if it's like a mix of the two, or if he passes like Chris Paul and dunks like Derrick Rose. I'm not sure where that comes in. They seem like two very different players, but I do agree with you that if not for Wemby being the freakishly athletic big guy on the court, Scoot would be the story coming out of summer league.
I think that is probably, I'm assuming at least, that it's not a comparison as much as it's not a skill comparison as much as it's a bar comparison. It's like, this is the bar that he's going to get to. But I mean, I do see some Derrick Rose comparisons, but Derrick Rose might have been the most explosive basketball player, I guess, this side of Russell Westbrook when he was doing his thing. Like, nobody could guard him at that point. And that's kind of what Scoot looked like in that game, but Derrick Rose is doing it in the NBA against top level defenses. So we'll see. But I don't feel like it's an overreaction at all.
All right, next one. Talking about the Thunder, the young core that is exciting everyone after the summer league. When Chet came back 13 pounds heavier, tenacious shot blocker. Based on what you saw, Chet Holmgren should be the front runner to win Rookie of the Year. Overreaction or underreaction?
Well, it's definitely an overreaction. I mean, Chet was awesome, and I always remember last year before the draft, very excited about what Chet was going to be. He added some weight. He looked comfortable and fluid, and he's going to have SGA and Giddey, like a pretty good roster and a good team. However, these awards are normally won or lost by how well the number one overall pick plays. Yeah. And so it's Wemby's to lose. And I don't see him losing it. So, like, I'm sorry, Chet. He's been great. I'm excited. I love him as a player. He has some Wemby in his skill level. He's coordinated and talented, a good ball handler, shooter, great shot blocker. He has all the things, a version of all the things that Wemby has, but he ain't him.
Yeah, last I checked, Wemby is still a rookie, so Wemby is going to win Rookie of the Year. And I wouldn't mind just giving it to him for like 5 years. Just let him win Rookie of the Year every year. I don't know, until he wins MVP. Just let him have it.
I think it's a fake rookie too.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Chet is that he's going to be great with that Thunder team, but that Thunder team is actually so loaded that he's not going to be the best player. Obviously, SGA is going to be the best player on that team. He might not be the second best player on that team. So he's going to have these spurts of dominance, but I don't think he's even going to have the opportunities to get Rookie of the Year. And again, fake rookie. fake. You remember when Donovan Mitchell? Who was that? Donovan Mitchell was fighting with Ben Simmons over being a fake rookie.
Yep.
I was wearing. Oh my God, that was so embarrassing. That was such a mid off when Donovan Mitchell's argument was like, you're not a real rookie. You're better than me, but you're not a real rookie. Come on.
Yeah, that's you
gotta
let
respect.
You gotta let somebody else make that argument for you. You can't be like, my argument is not on the merit; it is on a technicality.
Right. Technically, you don't deserve this award.
You've been practicing for a whole year.
Right.
Anyway,
it is worth noting that you have to play 65 games now to win Rookie of the Year, and that actually could keep Wemby from winning the award. Whereas, assuming he's healthy, the Thunder should be a mid-tier playoff team in the West, and Chet playing 65 games will be a huge part of that.
I can't wait to the end of the year when Chet Holmgren is pulling that same argument. It's like, hey, technicality, 64 games. You can't give that to that man, which I guess
you can't even vote for him if you only play 64 games.
Yeah.
I hate unrelated. The new CBA already.
Unrelated. Remember when Macklemore won Best Hip Hop Album at the Grammys? Anyway, it has nothing to do with this.
That was a Kendrick Lamar year also, wasn't it?
He had to send. Yeah, if Chet wins Rookie of the Year, he's going to have to send Wemby a text message apology and post it on Instagram like Macklemore did to Kendrick Lamar.
I mean, too bad we can't talk about Kanye anymore. That was one of his greatest contributions to society, is taking the microphone and telling people who and who does not deserve awards. It was set a precedent that I wish would have kept going on.
Swifties out there, that's Domonique Foxworth who said that. David Dennis supports Taylor Swift and loves her and all of her endeavors.
Okay, and Beehive out there, be clear that David Dennis is staunchly opposed to you and your queen. I am not.
I'm going to the concert, baby. I think, hopefully.
My wife's going tomorrow.
Eras tour was crazy. Next one, we have a little montage for you. Is it time to start feeling bad for Jordan Poole? Overreaction or underreaction?
Man. Oh man.
I mean,
man.
Post
crisis Poole.
Oh, that's the best picture they could have found. They did a whole shoot with my man. And
mutton chops and everything. My goodness.
You got to get them things to connect, baby. So I don't know why he's so sad. So I feel like it's hard because we're all assuming that he's upset because he's got traded to DC away from the Warriors. As we've talked about on here before, given what I know, the little bit I know about Jordan Poole, DC is going to be a place he's very happy. And he didn't seem all that happy last year with his assaulter on the roster and him not getting minutes or points in important moments. So I don't know why he's unhappy, but it's hard for me to feel sorry for him because he about to get everything he dreamed. And this roster ain't bad. Like they could be competitive. They could make the playoffs. They could be fun. And he gets to put up 30 points a game or at least 30 shots a game.
He put up 30 shots. I think the hookah bar was closed that day. He was a little bummed about that. They were closed for me. Jordan Poole in this picture looks like the Jordan Poole that comes from the future to warn the past Jordan Poole of what life could be like. I feel like this Jordan Poole comes through a portal and is like, if you're in practice, duck, and then like goes back and then like he gets erased from the newspaper because he warned him. That's what he looks like.
Not duck though. I mean, I feel like duck is the wrong advice. It's like the advice is, be careful what you say.
Right. Just don't say nothing.
think before you speak. Like, if you could go back in time, the thing you would tell him is duck, not, hey, how about you don't say the inflammatory things? Not blaming the victim, but, however, I can't imagine that he feels happy about the way that whole thing turned out. So,
did you see the clip when they asked him about Draymond? And,
yeah, I did.
And his life flashed before his eyes. Oh, look at that!
It's a great move.
That's how they look when. That's how I look when people are like, "You ready for student loans to come back?" That's exactly the same look I have on my face.
Oh man, should have been better at football.
Guys, last one. Emoni Bates posting fake stats on his Instagram stories is hilarious. Overreaction or underreaction?
so sad, man.
He had 12
What-
points in this game.
What? Yeah, I was gonna say, what were the actual numbers? Like, he obviously knows that the internet exists because he's posting this on the internet. Maybe he was just trying to be funny, or maybe he got some head trauma or something. He thought that his 12 was 27. I'm very confused. This doesn't make any sense to me for someone who's young and tech savvy to also believe that I'm gonna just slide this up here and fool everybody.
I think he's a jokester. I don't know if you have seen his highlight video set to Charlie Wilson songs. Like, come on, man! Like, this guy is the most internet dude ever, and of course he knew that was a joke.
Okay.
I'm going to follow him in perpetuity because of this.
Yeah, all right. So he got a little Grady Dick in him.
Phrasing.
Well, I mean, you know what I meant.
All right, guys, we got one final bonus topic.
I need Jordan Poole to come back from the future and tell you not to say that.
Well, you're about to past you is about to meet future you. So, is it an underreaction or overreaction that Mark Zuckerberg is way more ripped than David Dennis Jr.?
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
He is kind of ripped. He got some little taco meat. That curl up.
Are we going to sit here and praise Mark Zuckerberg's body and make fun of mine? Is this what we're doing here? This is what we're doing.
Mean, you got the tats, though. You got them beat on the ink. You look tough because you got ink. You could endure some needles in your shoulders.
The ink covers up a little bit of the musculature. I don't know if you know that. It covers up some of the musculature of the arm there.
You wore that tank top. Did you wear that tank top in the streets, or did you have a sweatshirt on when you got to the gym and took it off? Or you like walked in, you were like walking around and
Oh no, I
parked
do.
in
I
the
do.
tank top?
I do dramatic tank top removal at the gym.
Oh,
I don't know if you know.
okay.
I get a little sweaty, get a little glisten first, and then you take it off and let them know. You know, you gotta get shiny first. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, Mark Zuckerberg. It is fair to say that no matter how much money or success or what you have, deep inside of most men is just you want people to think you tough. That's it. That's all we all want. I just want people for 1 minute to think I'm tough. Sorry, Mark. I don't care how many muscles you got. I'll beat that.
I would not if you pay me not to. $1 billion.